Hey, back with another one. Today I'm gonna give y'all another Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell makes my ass itch sometimes. And sometimes he says stuff that I'll be like, never thought about that. But I'm gonna tell y'all right now, we're gonna give y'all that reaction. I'm gonna give y'all that reaction to Thomas Sowell. And if you wanna debate me, I go live on Saturdays from 3 till 5. And you're welcome to come up and debate me on Thomas Sowell. Anything you want to debate me on. Let's go. No time to waste.
Well, the media are mostly uninformed. No, they're not uninformed. They are
not as uninformed as you. I'm just playing. Said the media is mostly uninformed. No, the media just tries to make money. You're like earlier, the media is just trying to make money. That's it. The media is all about making money. That's all it's about. It's not uninformed. It's very informed, and they know how to make money off people's pain, ignorance, and hatred. Straightforward.
Misinformed. And they simply do not check the facts on the large issues or small.
Yeah. What can we do to fix that, do you think? I mean, I suppose this,
No,
right?
yeah.
Writing books like this?
Well, but I think more fundamentally, the public that votes has to itself become informed and not be so easily stampeded by slogans and a few numbers thrown around. Like, women make X% of what men make and so on.
Yeah.
When I was studying that some years ago, for example, I found out that young female doctors made much less money than young male doctors. That's like very odd. But when you look into it, you discover that young male doctors work an average of 500 hours a year more than young female doctors, and they get paid for the 500 hours. But there's no reason why the women and men should be doing the same thing. Their circumstances are different.
So are there any laws?
Anyways, he's absolutely right. It's one of the things I've had to debate feminists on a lot, that the gender pay gap exists not just because of sexism. Sexism is part of it. It's part of it. But another number of it is a bunch of other factors, like, the amount of time men working, paternity leave for women, what's another factor? The jobs women choose, like the fields women choose to go into. Men go into more science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Women go more into medical, caring, nursing type fields. It's growing though. I think that gap over time is going to grow though, like significantly, because a lot more women are going more into STEM fields. So we'll see as time goes on. But again, his point about the public being informed, yeah, they got to start listening to people like you. they got to start. They got to listen to. What happens is they listen to people like you, Thomas Sowell, in a sense, and what ends up happening is they don't research what he's saying. So they'll come in my comment section and be like, well, what he's saying is 100% true because he said it. Not because they found any information to back what he's saying. Some of the stuff he says is true because I'll dive into the information. But a lot of stuff he says is very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? It's like missing details. A lot of things Thomas Sowell says are like that. I don't know why, but anyways, it is what it is. Look, you want.
Laws that are in place right now that you believe are discriminatory one way or another towards any community or against any community?
I would have to write a much larger book to cover them all. The minimum wage law is absolutely devastating. The policy of saying that you cannot have...
Guys, just think. He doesn't want you to have minimum wage. He wants your employer to be able to give you whatever they want to be able to give you. Okay? Minimum wage sets a standard for what the employer should be giving you, right? Just imagine if your employer had the ability. Like, think about how your employer treats you, right? Some people have it good. A lot of people have it bad. Do you think your employer would really give you a livable wage if they could choose not to give you a livable wage in order to make profits more? The highest cost, and this is me studying economics in depth, micro and macro, the highest cost is labor. So what happens during downtimes? They cut people. You'd think if they had the ability to not give you a certain amount of money, that could actually make you have a livable wage, right? I'm not saying minimum wage is not livable at all, but set a standard for them giving you a living wage. You think they wouldn't do that? Just think about it. Just think about it. You think they wouldn't drop it down to $2, $3? Why do you think these companies all go to Mexico? Cheap labor. Why do you think they travel overseas? Cheap labor. Americans are too expensive. Just think about it. Like he's saying he doesn't want that. Why do y'all go with this guy? Like I don't understand. I don't understand. I just don't understand.
Well, more kids from one ethnic group disciplined in the school and from another is nonsense. I mean, groups are different from each other in umpteen ways, and just have the presumption that they are the same except for the way they're treated. It's nonsense. It's never been true, and I don't know why we think it's true here today.
He's right.
I do sense that some of what you just said there is bubbling up into the national consciousness, because I get a ton of email from black conservatives now, people that feel that they haven't been represented fairly, or that the so-called leaders of the black community that are on television all the time are actually preaching the complete reverse of everything.
Why do people say so-called? They are leaders. People follow them. They are leaders. Regardless of whether you see it like that, they are leaders. You may not agree with their perspectives, but they are a leader. Thomas Sowell is a leader. Like, Thomas Sowell is a leader.
That you've said here.
Yeah.
Do you sense that there is some sort of growing conservative movement in the black community?
There was a time when that community consisted of me and Walter Williams. I know Walter used to say the two of us should never fly on the same plane, otherwise the whole world will disappear if the plane goes down.
I mentioned to you before we started that Larry Elder caused my awakening, because I was a progressive and I said something to him about systemic racism on air, and he beat me senseless with facts. And I had to go back and reassess what was wrong with my thinking.
Well, in one of the chapters there, I have a little section about the era of apartheid in South Africa, and I had that in there because there's so much argument about how much racism is there and so forth. I said, let's test this hypothesis in a setting where there's absolutely no doubt of it, and that's apartheid in South Africa, with a government where blacks are not allowed to vote and so forth. And you then apply the economic principles. You find that the economic principles apply in South Africa. That there are some occupations. See, blacks weren't allowed by law to be in certain occupations more than a certain percentage, and in some occupations couldn't be hired at all. In some of those occupations where they couldn't be hired at all, well, it's illegal to hire them at all, there were more blacks hired than there were whites, because there are economic factors that come in, and you don't just pass a law and that automatically produces the results you want.
Yeah. Go deeper. Hold on, go deeper. Why? Why were more blacks able to be hired? And it ties into my first point, because they could pay them less. They could pay them a lot less to work. He didn't even mention that.
Go into some of the economic factors that you mentioned there, because I thought it was sort of interesting about the types of jobs that black people had and why that would affect.
Well, it's the competitiveness of the industry. In a competitive industry, discrimination in the sense that we use for anti-discrimination laws, it costs the discriminator as well as the others. Now, insofar as that price can be evaded by the discriminator, he will discriminate. For example, minimum wage laws. When you have a minimum wage law, you have more people applying for jobs in those categories than there are jobs available, because raising the wage rate causes more people to apply and employers to hire fewer because they're more expensive. And so you have a chronic surplus. Now, if you've got a chronic surplus in an industry, it costs nothing to discriminate. But if you have a competitive market, then of course it does cost something. For every person that you discriminate against who's qualified, you've got to hire somebody else, and you've got to raise that pay rate in order to get people in. So I show how competitive industries have much less discrimination than, say, regulated public utilities.
So I was wondering.
Oh my God. There's truth in this, but there's also something else, man. So I'm going to ask you guys, think about it for yourself, right? Do you think that the restaurant industry is a competitive industry? And do you think people are banging down the doors to get into work at a restaurant? No, right? But yet, I could tell you, like, a restaurant giving people $15 an hour is very possible. $20 an hour is actually possible. Very, very possible. Pending on location, right? Pending on location, pending on a lot of factors. Because there was a while ago I wanted to own a franchise and I looked into it. And specifically I looked to McDonald's. It would cost you $1 million to get the McDonald's and $1 million to find to put it up, right? And what was interesting was how much I could have actually paid people in the location. It was a medium location. And what I would have been able to pay would have been at least between $15 to $20 an hour per person. And that was pending on getting the community involved and all kinds of things like that, which wouldn't have taken long because it's a McDonald's. It sells itself. That's the reason why most people buy franchises. I recommend don't buy franchises because I keep looking into it. I've looked into it too much. Unless you have a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time on your hands to be able to invest into it, then don't do it. But long story short, a competitive industry, there already is competition in the competitive industries, like the technical field, any of the STEM fields. You know, there's already they already pay way more than the minimum wage is paying. Not all of them, but some of them do, right? Competitive industries. But something like a teacher, you got to do something. Because they're going to pay a teacher crap because that doesn't generate enough money in the market. The competitive industries are always the ones that generate a massive amount of money in the not the government, but in the economy. And teaching doesn't really generate a lot of money in the economy, but it's a future investment for the future generation. And we don't invest that much into that. That's a prime example of why we need a minimum, in my opinion. But hey, you know, like he's going off Milton Friedman's expression of economics, and which is fine. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with Milton Friedman. I just believe that. Hold on, let me see a second. It's making cold. Anyways, but yeah, let's keep going. I don't know why my air conditioner is blowing out cold air.
When I was reading it, you were ever going to talk about how now technology is also changing this. So we see a lot of these movements for $15 minimum wage, and I know why you don't think that's a great idea. But even now, where we see McDonald's and some of these other places just replacing people with iPads and computers.
This has been happening. I don't know.
Now, keep in mind, I just told you what I could have given them, right? Absolutely, each worker I could have given $15 an hour. Absolutely. It would have been nothing in a medium location. A high traffic location, probably would have been a lot more I could have given them. And I don't know, I didn't really look into bad locations. I did look into bad locations, but even in a bad location, it would still be between $13 to $15 an hour. That McDonald's can't afford that. McDonald's absolutely can afford it. Chick-fil-A absolutely can afford it. Subway, well, maybe not Subway. I'll go back on Subway maybe. But they can absolutely afford it. Amazon can absolutely afford it. They absolutely can afford it. Trust me. They just don't want to give you that. They just don't want to give you that. They don't want to increase more money on labor. And what's funny is all these other countries are going to catch suit to this soon. That you have to pay people to live in a livable wage. Poverty is going away. It's going away all around the world. So eventually, everybody will be making a good amount of money. But we'll see.
When I grew up in Harlem, when you went into a movie theater, this is a little neighborhood movie theater in Harlem.
Hey, man.
There would be a kid.
I'm reacting.
Walk down the aisle with you with a flash.
I'm reacting. You get. Hey, y'all. Mama Bear on here.
I'll call you back.
Nah, you good. Just mute yourself.
I'll call you back.
Just mute yourself. Just mute yourself.
No.
Hey, come on. Just stay up. Go ahead. Stay up. You can coach me on what I'm doing right or wrong.
I coach you.
All right. Let me keep going.
It's like show you till you see. It's like, and so now that we have so many compassionate people who want people to be paid a living wage, you got to stumble down the aisle to your seat the best way you can, because they're not going to pay you the kind of money, that's unrelated to productivity.
Yeah. What would you say to the people? I hear a growing movement of people saying, well, this is why we need a universal basic income, because technology is going to force so many people
I'm curious what you're gonna say.
out of the workplace.
Oh, that argument's been made for centuries, and it's been proven wrong for centuries.
Oh my God. No, this is the first century we've had AI. How has that argument been made for centuries? Guys, come on, man. I can't stomach this dude, man. How has this argument been made for centuries? And this is the first century we've had AI. Okay.
I would ask the question, what has happened? We've moved in that direction already. We have lots of people who can live off the welfare state and not have to be productive. And are they better people as a result of that? I saw some time back, and I haven't followed this.
It's not about being a better person. It's about being able to fund people. And if you remove all the jobs away with AI, what are people going to do? It's giving people a certain amount of money in order to keep people from revolting against the rich. To be real, like, think about it. If nobody had any money and only the rich had money, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? So, like, what better way than to invest money back into the people so that people can go off and do whatever they want to do, live whatever kind of life they want to live. They can go get whatever kind of job they want to get. And you know what I think all jobs are going to go to, though? I think they're all going to end up going, like, I think they're all going to get automated out of existence eventually. But I think, like, what's going to end up happening is, like, everybody's going to be more focused on, like, creative things for other people. So, like, art and music and design, and we're going to get a lot more people like that exist sooner or later. And who knows, maybe automation may automate that out of existence. But this guy, let's go.
Young people, the suicide rates among young people were among the negative consequences of the 1960s. People, you've taken all meaning out of people's lives, and so they find all kinds of crazy things to do, drugs, whatever. And that, again, it's not peculiar to the United States. You find this in Britain and other countries. And so, again, people who say this almost never look at any facts about what's happened as we expanded the welfare state. Did people behave better? No. You know, I mean, one of the things that
it's because we've never fully expanded anything. We've expanded the welfare state, but the cost of living has gone up. I don't know, man. This guy, like, again, economics is like, I'm gonna be fair to him, because economics is definitely something that's almost damn near philosophical. Even though it can actually be applied in society, it's all still just a theory. So that's the scary part about economics. But what he's saying, there are so many flaws, man. There's so many flaws, man.
I remember very well when I was back in the school in Harlem for some reason, maybe doing research, and I looked out the window and I said, you know, when I was a teenager, I used to walk my dog in that park, and looks of horror came over the students' faces, because that was a different world. And so, and when I tell them that I used to sleep out on a fire escape on hot summer nights because who could afford air conditioning, and they think I'm a man from Mars. People did that all over New York. They did it in Washington. They did it in North Carolina. Relatives in Washington used to go down at Haynes Point down near the Jefferson Memorial on hot summer nights and sleep there. So, you know, sometime after midnight when the heat wouldn't be so bad, they'd go home at that time. You'd be out of your mind to do that today. It'd be too dangerous.
Yeah. So how do we sort of untie some of this? So my sister right now lives on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, not too far from Harlem, and she's in a half rent stabilized or rent controlled building, and half market price. She's on the market price, so she's paying to be in a 2-bedroom in New York City. I don't even want to tell you how expensive it is. But then there are basically half of the building that's paying next to nothing, and that, of course, incentivizes people not to get off the dole, because if you're living in a nice area on the Upper West Side, very cheap, why in the world would you ever get off the dole? How do we start solving these problems? And I know facts is your bedrock answer.
Yes.
But what can we do to get people to understand some of this stuff? Because it seems so basic to understand. If someone was giving you something that you didn't earn,
again,
it's hard to.
This is common. One of this in Europe, in England especially, it's a special problem, because you have this place where your rent is subsidized, and say you're in London, and jobs are disappearing in London, and they're opening up in Manchester. Now, if you go to Manchester, you get on a waiting list for that kind of job, and if you stay in London, you're unemployed, but your rent is low, and so you slow down the movement of people, you slow down the turnover of people in these apartments. But again, most people who talk about this don't even talk in terms of if this, then that. They talk about it as this is how the world ought to be. Well, heck, I can think of all kinds of things of how I think the world ought to be. But unfortunately, most of those things involve a cause, a trade-off.
I agree.
Do you think there's a system or a government that's doing it better, doing freedom better than we're doing it here? For all the flaws that we have in this system, is anyone doing it better than us?
There may be marginally so. But I think most of the Western world is less free than it was, say, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
By what measurements do you view that?
Oh, just the amount of regulations, things you could use, and also by consequences. I was reading Milton Friedman's, he and his wife had a joint autobiography, and she's looking, at one point she says, looking back on the days when she would ride the IND subway in Manhattan, and what a joy it was, and she said, in those long gone days. And the IND subway goes through Harlem. And Milton Friedman and his wife, when they were still courting, used to go dancing at the Savoy Ballroom. Very few people want to, and you know, the famous theme song of telling to take the A train. The A train goes right through Harlem on the IND line. And so Friedman was only 5'2", had no fear of being mugged or even accosted, and go there. And this was common. There was a black actress who used to get finished with play and her socializing afterwards.
All right, y'all. He went on his point. He said what he said. He gave some basic facts that I don't really think are facts. I think they're philosophical answers. I think they're debatable. I think they're all based on a theory. Milton Friedman had a theory. I'm trying to think of some economist names. Milton Friedman had his theory. Keynes, I forgot his name, but I know it's Keynes. Keynesian economics. He had his theory. The supply side economic theory. Capitalism. The whole invisible hand theory. I mean, there's an extensive amount of theories out there, and I mean it's debatable. But hey, y'all, peace. Out.